welcome to our weekly focus mini. Today we are focusing all on the alignment of the pelvis, and I'm so excited about this topic because the pelvis is one of my favorite things to talk about. So if you're here, hello, please say hi in the comments. Drop a couple of emojis, let me know how you're feeling. If you're watching on replay, just say hashtag replay and also let me know how you're feeling. So like I said, we're going to talk about the pelvis today. And I love the pelvis because it dictates so much of what else is happening in the body. So what happens in the pelvis does not stay in the pelvis, right? So if the pelvis is twisted or out of alignment, that's going to trickle up the body, up the spine, into the upper body and the head and the neck. And it's also going to trickle down into the legs. Hey, Rebecca, how are you? Great to see you. I'm going to do my best to follow along on the comments. Last week, I missed some live comments and I apologize for that. If that happens this week, if you ask me a question in the comments or even just say hi and I don't respond, I'm not ignoring you. Please follow up with me afterwards. I would hate for anyone's questions to go unanswered. So if I don't see your questions, I'm still really getting used to this Facebook Live stuff. So please don't think I'm ignoring you. Hey, Alicia, great to see you. Alicia and I are on the same page. We're thinking the same thoughts. So anyway, the pelvis. So as I was saying, what happens in the pelvis does not stay in the pelvis. So it really dictates the whole body. So there's a few different things I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to do a little exercise. So I want to start by talking about a concept in the Alexander technique. So if you're not familiar with the Alexander technique, it's a movement education system that is taught in a lot of higher education music, dance programs, sports programs, and all over, not just higher education, but it's really great for people who do a lot of repetitive movement. It's sort of it's a focus on posture as it relates to movement. So it's great for people that get stuck in patterns because of their movement lifestyle. I see another comment here. Let's see. I'm really going to try to stay on top of it here. Okay. So anyway, in this concept of Alexander technique, there's this one particular concept that I just love, which is that the sit bones, which I'll talk about in more detail here in a second, but the sit bones are like tiny little feet, which I find absolutely adorable. So what that basically is saying is your spine doesn't necessarily know whether you're sitting or standing. If you're standing, it's really relating down into the feet, but if you're sitting, it's relating to those sit bones. And so as far as the spine's concerned, you're sitting, you're standing, whatever, it wants to have the same support. It wants to be able to stack freely. It wants each vertebra to be able to stack up onto the next without trying to hold itself up. So when you're sitting, your sit bones become your support. So let's talk about those sit bones. Hi, I see some other people popping on here. Say hello if you're here so I can acknowledge your presence. But let's start with a really simple little exercise. So wherever you are, if you're seated or standing, I want you to just notice your weight. So I want you to notice if your weight is equal between your 2 feet or your 2 sit bones, or if it feels like you're sort of listing off to the side a little bit like I tend to do. We all tend to have a little bit of that. So if you need to close your eyes or just soften your focus or whatever, but I just want you to really feel where your weight is. And if you notice that one side is taking more weight or doing more work than the other side, or maybe you can't even feel one of your sit bones really making contact with your seat. If that's the case, then you're really gonna love what we talk about here. So let's look at some anatomy here. Let me get my skelly out. So the ischial tuberosities, the sit bones or the sits bones are what we commonly call them. So this is what they look like. And they're actually kind of shaped like little rockers. See if you can kind of see that here. So it's kind of like you can kind of rock back and forth like a rocking chair leg or something. So these bones right here are what are the tiny feet of your pelvis. So they're what allows, depending on their position, they can either support the spine or not. So it really depends on how the pelvis is positioned. So how does our pelvis change position? What gets it into a non-optimal alignment? Well, let's talk a little bit about that anatomy. So, oh, don't fall over on me here, Skelly. So the pelvis is actually 2 bones that come together. So we have kind of like these 2 butterfly wings, one here and one here, and they attach at the back to your sacrum, the lowest part of your spine, and these are your SI joints. Where your butterfly wings attach to the sacrum are your SI joints. So those are 2 places where we actually have some movement Don't want a ton of movement there, but we do have a little bit of movement there. Now, if you follow those bones around, so I'm going to follow it around to the front. Where do those two bones meet in the front? They meet at what we call the pubic bone. Now that's kind of a misnomer because the pubic bone is also two bones. It's just the point where the two bones meet. If you can see this little strip right here, that is actually cartilage. We call that the pubic symphysis. So that's the most narrow point there is actually not a bone at all. It's cartilage, and it's where the 2 points meet. So we've established that we have these two sections of bone, and they meet at the front and they meet at the back. So let's talk about what happens if one side of the pelvis gets thrust forward or back, or if it gets pushed up or down for various reasons. This can happen from certainly from an injury, like an impact injury, a fall, or a car accident or something like that can absolutely create an imbalance in the pelvis. But a lot of times it's just lifestyle. It's just the way that you've been moving for a very, very long time. It could be related to your office chair. It could be related to the surface of the floor that you're working on. Like if you're a chef and you're standing in a kitchen floor and it's really hard, it's not great for your weight distribution, then you might develop some kind of weird imbalance as well. So let's talk about what happens. Let's imagine that this particular person here, let's say one side of their pelvis is kind of pushed forward a little bit. So that would mean that where they meet right here, I'm having trouble with the angle, sorry about that. I feel like I'm on a green screen trying to figure out how to show this best. So where these two sides meet, if one of them is pushed forward, I'll try to give a profile view. So if one of them is pushed forward, what is that gonna mean for the back? Well, if one side's pushed forward in the front, that means it's also going to be pushed forward back here, creating stress on one or both of the SI joints. So when you have a twist in the pelvis, and a lot of us do, there's usually a front and back component. So all of that said, let's now talk about how we can start to balance that out. I want to just, a little aside here, I'm not talking about the pelvic floor specifically today. That is a whole other topic. I could do a whole live on that. And I just want to say that I'm in the process of doing my biannual Yamana research, and it's on the pelvic floor. So I'm super, super excited about it. I love that work, but we're not going to talk specifically about the pelvic floor today. We're just going to talk about the bones. So if you have low back pain, or if you've ever been told that one leg is maybe shorter than the other, or if you've been told that you have an anterior tilt, some people have more of a posterior tilt. That just means, here, I'll stand up and see if I can show what I mean here. So an anterior tilt would be, it's kind of tipped, and a posterior tilt would be like a tuck. Both of those create issues. If you've ever been told any of those things, one of the first things that we do to correct that is simply get these two sides of the pelvis to meet in the middle where they're supposed to, so that front area where they meet at the pubic symphysis is flush, and same with the back, so that the two butterfly wings where they meet at your pelvis, where they meet the SI joints, are also flush. So you don't have this weird out of whack thing. Okay, so Rebecca says, I do have low back pain and hip pain. You're not alone, Rebecca. You're not alone. I don't know if I've talked about this in the Alliance data class that you take with me, Rebecca, but we'll probably get into more detail about it over time. So I want to share with you what you can kind of do about that. Now, if you don't have Yamana balls, there's not a great substitute for this, but you can still try this, maybe with like the smallest kind of pillow you can find, or maybe even like fold a pillow up. This is a really small one. I don't have a great substitute for you. So this is really, this is a specific exercise to the Yamana body of work, and I can guide you through it. Even if you don't have a ball, you can watch, follow along, and I think that you'll start to see how simple it can be to actually start to correct this. So I'm gonna now change my video vantage point here. I'm going to back up, make sure that you can still see me pretty well. So again, just to kind of really solidify this in our minds, now that you can kind of see more of my whole body, if one side is twisted, it's going to reflect both front and back. So you're going to feel it in both the front and the back. The pain may present more in the front or the back, or the discomfort, but there's certainly going to be an issue on both sides. So for this first exercise, if you have Yamana balls, let's start with your larger size. I'm going to start with the pearl. Some people, especially if you're just getting started with this and you have a gold ball, this may be a little more forgiving because The pubic area, which is where we're going to work right now, this area is typically very tender. Now, this is a spot in the body that is perfectly safe to bear all your weight into. However, how often do you bear weight into your pubic bone? Not very often, right? Unless you're an avid yamana roller. So if you've never done this before, I'll let you know right off the bat that this can be a little bit intense. It's a good kind of intense. It means that you are providing the nourishment and attention that that part of your body needs, but it could be a little sensitive. So just letting you know that. So what I want you to do is take your larger ball, or if you're trying this with a pillow, I'm really curious how it goes with a pillow. It's not going to be as specific, but I think that you might still be able to tap into the anatomy of it. So give it a shot. Okay, I thought I saw another comment there. Okay, so we're going to take the ball, or the pillow, right at the center of the pubic bone. So basically the symphysis, that spot that I showed you that was a little strip of cartilage. And you want it to be pretty low. So if you went a lot lower, you're going to lose it between your legs, but you don't want it to be up so high that it's at your belly button. Not that there's anything wrong with working in the navel area, we do that too. But for today, I want to focus strictly on the pelvis. So you're going to take the ball right at the center, and you're just going to lie down on top of it. Now, because it is a sensitive area, I want you to take your time. So go ahead and rest yourself a moment on your forearms. I'll move these out of the way here. Take a couple of breaths here. When you feel like you're able to relax a little bit, let your upper body come down. So you're going to let your whole upper torso relax on the floor. You can make a pillow out of your hands if you'd like, and rest your head on your hands. Or you can just rest your head on the floor, whatever's comfortable for you. But what you're doing is you're concentrating your weight right into that symphysis, that joint. It's officially a joint. It doesn't provide us with a lot of range of motion. It's more about stability, but it is a joint where two bones come together. So I just want you to give yourself a moment here. If you feel like you're not sure where your center is, if you feel like you're leaning to one side or kind of falling off the ball, give yourself a couple kind of rocking side to side actions until it just sort of settles right where you feel like center is. And this may not be true center, but that's a whole other live too, our proprioception. This might not be your true center, but just go where you feel like you can balance without tipping off the ball. And once you're there, you're just going to give yourself a few breaths. And I want you to breathe really deep into the low belly, and also breathe really deep into the low back. So these things are happening simultaneously. So as you're inhaling, it should feel sort of like a balloon. Your belly expands towards the floor, your back expands up towards the ceiling. If you have somebody with you and you can have them put a gentle hand on your low back to provide feedback there, so you have something to breathe toward, that could help. Or you can just put your own hand there, or you can just imagine. And so you really want to feel this sense of inflating the belly and back, simultaneously expanding. And as you exhale, you're simultaneously deflating. And after you've been here for a bit, we've been here 3 or 4 or 5 breaths. After you've been here for a bit, I want you to start to bring your awareness to your back. So what are you noticing back here? If you're feeling that one side is really talking to you more than the other, that's a good clue that you have located one of your imbalances. So if, for instance, on me right now, I'm feeling a lot more intensity on this left SI joint here. And that tells me that probably this whole left panel of my pelvis was shifted forward a bit. So as I sink down into the ball is forcing those two sides, if I get a good angle to show this, it's forcing those two sides to line up with one another. So whichever side was more forward is having to do, it's just having to do more undoing of what it knows. So as it slides back, it's creating more sensation back here. So you can stay there for a while if you want to. Another way you can start to access this, if you have the black balls, and this may be a little bit more forgiving. If you use the 2 balls at once, we're actually going to straddle the pubic bone. So there's not going to be as much of, stay in the frame here, there's not going to be as much of a concentration right into that point, but now you're going to be working more specifically with the 2 panels, so to speak, or what, for lack of a better word, these 2 parts that come together. So you can try this as well, basically placing the 2 balls, straddling the pubic bone, about the same level that you did with the larger ball. And you'll probably have to readjust them because they like to roll, of course. That's the nature of the beast, is that they roll. So you'll have to put them back into place. And try this. So this may be less intense. Now for some of you, it may be more intense. It just depends on where you're tight and what muscles are, the most stuck. But this may be less intense or more. And same thing, you can kind of make a little pillow out of your hands if you want, or you can rest your head straight on the floor. This is now easier to support you. So if on the bigger ball, if you were tipping or falling off, now that you have two, it's almost impossible to tip off, right? Because you have a wider base for your pelvis to settle into. So now that pubic symphysis, that little strip of cartilage that connects the two sides of the pubic bones, now it's able to drop down into this space. So you have created this little cradle, this little hammock for your pubic bone to drop down into. So now you can really feel a sense of letting go, releasing your weight. Take a few breaths here, same idea, breathing belly into the floor, back up towards the ceiling, trying to feel this simultaneous 360 expansion of your low back and belly. You may feel this down your legs. We have a lot of leg muscles that come up and attach in this area, or actually originate in this area. So if you are experiencing like icy hot or hot or cold feeling going down your leg, or some pulsing, something like that, that's all totally normal as you start to free the attachments here and allow blood to flow through more freely. You might feel some major sensation down your legs as well. So try this for a few more breaths. Really taking as full inhales as you can, letting all the air out on the exhale. Remembering that topic that we were exploring about letting the exhale really, really go all the way out of the lungs. And then after you've been here for a few breaths, go ahead and turn around and just lie on your back for a second and see what that feels like. Stretch your legs. You can stretch your arms too if you want, but stretch your legs down, nice and long, really extending the heels away. Your arms can do whatever you want to do. I would suggest that they should be symmetrical. So if you have them down at your sides or out at shoulder level, or even like sort of a constructive rest, another Alexander concept I'll probably talk about at some point, crossing the arms over the top. But I want you to notice that really wide base that you have, nice and supported, hip to hip, and notice how your back really is making more contact with the floor now. So that's kind of an intro to this pelvic work. There are ways that you can also work to bring the two sides together from the back. So when we're doing, if someone has a pelvic issue or an issue that's related to the pelvis, we're going to come at it from all angles. So I'm showing you just kind of one entry point into the work. Let me just check the comments here. Okay. One entry point into this work, but we would work the same way at the back. And then we would also work to create space between the ribs and the pelvis, to lift the rib cage up away from the pelvis so it's not pushing the pelvis down onto the legs. So it's a good intro to the work. Now, this relates to all this technique stuff that we've been talking about, because bringing it back home to those sit bone feats, if those are out of whack, then that's going to translate up your spine into your shoulders and create all kinds of forward head posture, overdeveloped traps, shoulder blades that don't want to stay on the back, all that kind of stuff. Because if the pelvis is tipped one way or the other, the rest of the body has to adjust itself so you don't just fall over, right? Otherwise you would just fall on your side or something. So there's always compensations that are happening, and often when there's an issue seemingly unrelated, we can find an origin in the pelvis. So that's my little spiel for today. I just love the pelvic work. As soon as I get that research finished on the pelvic floor, I'll definitely be sharing some of that with you. Does anyone have any questions? If so, please type them in the comments. It looks like everyone's I see a few people watching, but I haven't heard from everyone, which is totally cool. Feel free to lurk as well, I don't mind. But anyway, if you do have questions that come up, if you don't want to share them publicly, do feel free to contact me. I'm always available. Whatever medium you like, you can reach me many, many ways. Just want to, no questions, says Rebecca. Thank you. I'm glad to hear it. So try it for a few days and let me know how it goes. You'll probably be a little sore if you've never done this before. You might have a little soreness right there at the pubic bone. Rebecca says she felt it more on the right. Okay, so now that tells you a lot. So one of the things I love about this work is as soon as you get a piece of information, it leads to all of these other revelations, right? So it's more, if you're having more, oh, hey Jackie, nice to see you. If you're having more pain on one side, that tells you all kinds of things. So I encourage you to look in front of the mirror, place your hands on your hip point. So find the top of your hip point. And notice, are your thumbs or your fingers in the same place? Many times you're going to feel like one hand is higher than the other. So those are just other examples of how misalignments in the pelvis will look to you. Like you can actually see it yourself. So these are ways that you can find it. Place your hands on your hip point, see which is higher. You could lean against a wall and see if it feels like both hips are on the wall. If not, if you feel like one's forward or back, that tells you that you're twisted. And as soon as you know a little bit about what's going on with your alignment, then it's a domino effect, and you can use that as a dialogue to troubleshoot all the other things that are going on. So this is one of the greatest things about this work, is that it's very empowering. It teaches you how to figure out what's going on with your body. So if you have questions, let me know. I'm supposed to plug my Tech Neck workshop. They say plug it a lot, so I'm going to. So please do join me October 5th through 9th if you're able. You can either join me live or on replay, and we're going to be talking all about Tech Neck. And we will touch on the pelvis and Tech Neck because they're exactly related. So hope to see you then, and have a great weekend. And let me know if you have questions. Thanks, everyone. Bye. That's cool, Rebecca. I see it. Hey, Jill. I'm glad you made it. Thanks for letting me know you were here. And if you do have any comments or questions, feel free to post it on this video after the fact, or PM or email or whatever. Okay? Thanks, everyone. Great to see you. Bye-bye.